What up, everyone? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode is brought to you by JB Weld, the world's strongest bond. Pros have trusted it for over 50 years, but you won't even need a pro when you've got JB Weld around. Their adhesive products make it super easy to do it yourself. Whether it's a DIY project, an automotive repair, plumbing, marine, or more, for projects big and small at home or in your garage, use JB Weld. In fact, JB Weld products can be used on almost anything: metal, wood, plastics, glass, ceramics, and more. You keep it in your toolbox, keep it in your kitchen drawer, keep it in your truck, throw it in the glove box. You never know. Speaking of which, JB Weld just acquired Herculiner, the original DIY truck bed liner. So if you're looking for the world's strongest truck bed liner, Herculiner has you covered there as well. Don't spend hundreds or thousands of dollars having the dealer do it. You can do it at home with Herculiner for cheap, and it's just as good as what the pros are using. Be your strongest self. Use JB Weld, the world's strongest bond. JB Weld is available at jbweld.com, Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, Napa, O'Reilly, Michaels, and more. JB Weld epoxy products are proudly made in the USA. JB Weld, we love them. How about Keeper Security? They are the leading cybersecurity platform for protecting individuals, families, and businesses against password-related cyber attacks, aka hacks and ransomware. The fact is, we have too many passwords. If you're reusing a weak password over multiple accounts or cycling 1 to 3 weak passwords, you are setting yourself up for an easy hack. If you're wasting time in the password reset loop, we all know what that is, right? You create a password, you don't log in for a while, you forget that password, reset the password, and then you repeat it indefinitely until the end of time. You're doing it wrong. If you're worried about your finances, the cost of a yearly Keeper subscription is nothing compared to the cost of a data breach. Less than $3 a month for a personal user, 7 months for a family plan of up to 5 users, and not to mention when you get hacked, you have to be worried about stopping payments, getting refunds, and changing all your auto pay bills. Ugh, what a nightmare. When you forget getting a new device, it takes forever to log into all your apps and accounts again. With Keeper, you can create strong, unique passwords for every account where you log in, like you know you should, but keep them stored safely in your own encrypted vault. All you have to do is remember your one master password. Also works with Face ID and Fingerprint ID, and then you can access all of your strong passwords without having to actually remember them all. This keeps your information safe from hackers, and it gives you peace of mind. Look, we can't cancel our passwords, but with Keeper, we can make them manageable. Listeners of the Smoking Tire Podcast are going to get 30% off Keeper Unlimited and family plans. So use promo code, you ready? SmokingTire30 at checkout, or visit keeper.io/smokingtire to learn more. All right? Smoking Tire 30 for 30% off at checkout, or keeper.io/smokingtire to learn more. We're also brought to you by HelloFresh, who is killing it. I just got my 3rd round of HelloFresh food. I got a chicken curry, I got a barbecued pork, and I got this like bulgogi bowl thing. It is awesome. With HelloFresh, you get pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. You skip trips to the grocery store. Count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Here's why I like HelloFresh. Because I like cooking. I fancy myself to be a home cook. And a lot of times, like with these types of services, I'm like too proud. You know, I'm not a meal plan kind of guy. And I've tried the pre-prepared food that you get once a week and then microwave back up. I'm definitely not about that. But the problem is, you know, I can make a couple things pretty easily without having to think about it too much, and you get stuck in a loop where you're just making those basic things, right? You don't get creative, you don't dig into your recipe books, you don't really try to figure out something new. That's like work and brain power after a long day. With HelloFresh, you choose your recipes online. They have a bunch of stuff to choose from, right? And then the food and the recipe come to you together with like dry ice in a box. You put it in your fridge, and then you just open one bag a day, and there's everything you need to make this recipe for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, whatever you choose. And it's one big flashcard that shows you all the steps to make it, pre-measured ingredients, but it's like a whole pepper, a whole onion, a whole carrot. You're doing it all yourself, but there's pre-measured spices and sauces, so there's no waste at the end of it. You're not stuck with half a spice you're never going to use again, half a bottle of sauce you're never going to use again, so a lot less food waste. It is great. I love HelloFresh. They're really delicious, too. Me and Hannah have been eating all the food. I even gave the friend sharing one to my parents who are getting into it. So go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire12 and use code SmokingTire12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping. All right? SmokingTire12 and use code, HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire12 and use code SmokingTire12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping. All right? HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. It is delicious. And to get you in the mood for that kind of delicious cooking levels, Tradecraft Farms is the official cannabis provider of the Smoking Tire podcast. If you live somewhere in the civilized world where it is legal, then by all means, ask for Tradecraft by name at your local dispensary or purveyor. If you're in the state of California, go check out the Tradecraft dispensary, factory direct stores. They grow, they're totally vertically integrated and serving the Southern California community epically, I might add. If you're not in a state where you can acquire these products legally and safely, then just give them a follow at Instagram, Tradecraft Farms, and @Fire. Fire is the golden joints. They are the coolest. THC, CBD, and everything in between, edibles, smokables, vapables. You know all the drill. Tradecraft Farms is the official cannabis provider of the Smoking Tire podcast. All right, on this episode, we've got Chris Paukert. He is from CNET Roadshow, and before that, Autoblog, and before that, everywhere else. Career automotive journalist. He's a great follow on Twitter. We're talking about all the delightful things he's been driving in LA, and we are catching up on all of your questions, which have piled up because of shows like my dad's interview and other guests. So, taking your questions in a half crew show is Chris Paukert from CNET Roadshow.
Yeah. Well, good news. You don't have like
welcome.
Cheers. Thank you
Thanks
so much
for stopping by.
Thank you.
On your
transcontinental.
You're transcontinental, but it seems like it's really your fucking Los Angeles dining experience.
There's been an awful lot of good food, as you can.
The back and forths. Chris and I had some back and forths leading up to this show, and they were almost exclusively about food.
I mean, it's easy because I know you enjoy food and you've got a lot more experience with restaurants out here, and I don't.
And you brought this bouze, which is
and what's the
Pinhook straight bourbon whiskey. It's got this cool racehorse on it. It's Bourbon War is the name of the horse. Vertical series, aged 5 years. So I guess they pick barrels every year and taste how it ages. And this is number 2 of 9. So far, not bad.
Excellent. Yeah, this is the second in that series. I think they pulled aside like 1,200 barrels or something, and then they're going to release them periodically and see every year how they age.
It's sweet, but not too much corn. It's not a lot, not heavy on the like Blanton's. I love it. It's got like a lot of corn.
Yeah.
This is it's sweet, but it's definitely like kind of a right down the middle of the road.
Okay, so it's accessible, easy.
It's easy, yeah, easy to drink. Definitely do it with some rocks because it's. I believe it's 100 proof. 104 proof. Yeah, so I would go with the water on that.
Makes sense.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
That's delightful.
Good.
We have really developed a reputation for being receivers of bourbon.
It's a good thing.
It keeps coming. Guests are really like trying to like one up each other on the bourbon. And then Johnny brings us that swill.
Right. $14 trickery.
That shit was good.
It was good.
The JTS Brown.
I'm not familiar with that.
The first, he came on the show when we first moved into the studio, and he brought like a $300 bottle of delightful specialness.
Yeah.
The very next time he came on the show, he brought a bottle of something I'd never heard of, and he was like, "We're gonna drink this, and then you tell me how much you think it was."
That's a good game.
Yeah, and especially when it was $18 after being like pretty damn tasty.
Yeah, and you're probably thinking $100 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, Johnny's drinking it. It's got to be something good, you know? And you ever see one of those labels that's like so simple they must have been doing it for 150 years?
Yeah.
Or they're just cheap bastards. So we good? Good? Everybody?
Yeah.
Good? It's the show?
Seems live and good.
Live and direct. Oh, sorry, just fucking with you. Chris Paukert, what up?
Hey, great to be here.
Great to be here. Indeed.
Yeah,
Great for you to be here.
Been listening to the show for a long time, and it's great to finally be here and check out your amazing setup.
It's okay, yeah? It's okay.
Yeah, you've done all right for yourself.
Get in the super chat with your questions, people, if you want to talk about cars today. What have you been driving recently?
You know Steve Ewing. He's our fleet manager at
Yeah.
Roadshow, and he hooked me up when we first got out here with the full LA
I didn't realize he
experience.
was the fleet manager.
Well, so he does a lot of stuff.
That's a side gig.
He is our managing editor, but he is the best fleet manager in the business, hands down, and has
Really?
been for years. 100%.
I've known Steve Ewing for a very long time. I did not know that he had fleet management skills. Can I hire him for like freelance? Will he book my press cars freelance?
I can't speak to that. I'm going to leave that up to the man himself.
Really?
But yeah, no,
That's awesome.
he did it for us at Autoblog before, at Winding Road. This is the third place I've worked with him. We've been working together for a long time, and he's incredibly gifted at that.
Really?
And he hooked a brother up. He gave me a Aston Martin Vantage Roadster while we were here. The yellow one, you might have had that car.
I didn't, but a yellow Roadster.
Yeah,
I had the blue, the one that looked like Porsche Mexico blue.
Okay, yeah.
Which was fine.
That's very shouty too. So
It was. Aston Martin's press cars are really shouty.
Yeah. And I had a Lamborghini, and now I've got the Toyota Mirai. So
I was going to say, I was about to be like,
don't know.
and you rolled up in the most understated vehicle.
I had a
that
Huracan
exists.
Evo. I needed to dial it way back.
Yeah.
But I drove here in a Toyota Highlander hybrid all the way across the country from Michigan. So
That sounds really exciting.
yeah.
Highlander Hybrid across Kansas, across Nebraska.
We got out of the Midwest as soon as we possibly could.
Did actually my parents have a
You
Highlander?
were kind of
It's
driving
nice.
in the Midwest that entire trip, just the engagement of that car.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? The suspension on it's pretty terrible. So
Really?
Is it?
The standard Highlander is fine.
Oh.
If you have the hybrid, I don't.
Because if they compensate for the weight by making it stiff?
I honestly, I don't know what they did. I've been meaning to talk to the engineers, but it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have the same balance. It's clunky. It manages to like pitch and yaw over big, undulations, and then at the same time, it takes sharp impacts, and the whole thing shudders like it's a body on frame.
Oh, weird. I wonder if it's like the placement of the battery pack or like either the recalibration of the shocks or lack of recalibration, maybe.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I got great fuel economy, and it was otherwise comfortable, so I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah, I mean, just as a place to sit. I mean,
As a place to sit and throw all of your crap.
Yeah.
And we had a roof box up top. Like, we were out here for a month, and we have our dog. Like, we did the whole thing.
nice. We just had a Volvo V90 cross country with the roof box optional, and
Nice.
it was comfy.
Yeah.
Really comfy. They drive weird. Volvos drive so strange.
The engine's it's odd.
It's
Well,
really
there's a lot
odd.
going on there.
Yeah,
right?
the twin charge system.
Yeah.
A lot going on in the name of efficiency, and then you need to use 91 octane, which is unfortunate. But very nice car, though.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful interior. I love the way they look. The V90
Yeah.
in particular, it's got legs. I mean, it looks great on this.
Well, they figured out how to lengthen the dash to axle to
So
make
it
it
looks
look
like
like
a
a
rear-wheel
rear-wheel drive car. It's
100%.
cool.
Yeah, it's key.
Yeah, super, super cool.
Yeah.
Where did your actual writing career start?
That is an excellent question. So I've been doing this a long time, and initially when I was in college, I was, contributing to like early internet sites, bulletin boards, rangerpowersports.com. Like I had a Ford Ranger in
Whoa.
college, like way back in the day.
Was it a Splash?
No, it was just an extended cab XLT. But I was doing little how-tos, how to install an underdrive pulley, how to put like the chicken wire thing behind your grill, like really like janky stuff,
Yeah.
like the
I
Lumi
remember
logo,
that
like
shit.
all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And so people just started sending me products. Like I got like clear taillights. I'm like, what am I going to do with the clear taillights?
Yeah. You didn't want to Altezza up your Ranger?
No, not so much. So I would do some of those, and I frequented a lot of the forums and stuff. And I don't know if you remember Blue Oval News, like the Ford
Oh, yeah.
stuff that
Yeah.
broke a lot of like stuff around police cars and some of the accidents they were having and blowing up and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So did that, and then I was the first freelance.
Oh wow, Ranger Power Sports has really got it going on.
Well, now it's probably just
2013.
a web page. It's probably the same look. You'll probably find my truck in there somewhere. And then I worked doing freelance stuff. I was the first contributor to The Truth About Cars, if you believe that.
Oh really?
Whoa.
The first freelance contributor. First unpaid. Never took a dime of Robert Fraga's money. But that got me in the door and got me some press cars, which was good. And then I joined Autoblog before there was any full-time staff at Autoblog. And the editor-in-chief then, John Neff, was writing posts at the Apple store. He worked at the Apple store during the day, and he would write on the computers while it was slow.
At the Apple store?
At the Apple store, he would write posts. And then I worked at a record company at the time, and I would come home at night after shows, and I would write posts and bang them out for $5 a post.
God,
and
writing posts at the Apple store.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I mean, if you're standing around and your other job is on the internet, that's kind of clever.
Yeah.
It worked out. And John's a great dude, and he's over at Motor One now. And I was at Autoblog for 5 years eventually, full time, and I worked for Winding Road and been at Roadshow for 6 years now. I just look to see how long it's been because it's passed so quickly.
Yeah, Roadshows kind of endured, haven't they? They've done all right.
We've done all right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. When I first joined and I got the call for CNET, I knew CNET for phone reviews and televisions and stuff like that, but I didn't appreciate how massive it is and how much of a built-in audience there is. So,
what else do they have reviews of?
Just about every form of technology you can think of. Yeah. And they're,
I know everyone looks at reviews before they fucking buy anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that one.
The size of
good.
CNET is just immense. Like if you took everything out of our category, if you took Car and Driver, Road and Track, Motor Trend, KBB, and you put them all together, CNET's still way larger. And so
because of the built-in consumer audience,
and because they've been doing it for 25 years, they've got all that SEO juice built up. And what that allowed us to do is just to hit the ground running when all the automakers want to be technology companies or mobility providers. They don't actually want to be car manufacturers anymore, or at least they want that air cover. So
yeah, I think that's a more appropriate term. They want the air cover. Yeah. We're gonna not make gas cars anymore. All right. Cool.
Yeah, we're going to invest, $10 million in EVTOLs or something. And then now we're a mobility provider.
Right. I suppose that is a really useful way to cross-pollinate within your own, giant conglomerate, especially because like multimedia systems are everything now.
For sure. And also, in fairness, CNET had been doing car news and reviews for years under the Car Tech banner, and unless you were part of that CNET ecosystem and you were already interested in their stuff, you may or may not
find it.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Easy.
It's been a good gig. We got lots of great people. A lot of them. Steve. Emmy. And,
yeah. I mean, I run into it's like my regulars at the press launches. It's good. Yeah. That's cool. So what have you driven recently that's been excellent? I mean, you got these cars in LA, but anything else for work that'll really? The Vantage is sort of like. It's good, but it just doesn't. It doesn't
have the magic.
I gave it back. I immediately stopped thinking about it.
Well, I was corrupted because I also had a Huracan Evo at the same time. And you guys get Lamborghinis out here. They're just like handing them out at the airport. And in Michigan, you can't get anything like that.
That's not true.
You have to buy 2 smoothies. And
they
you get a free
hand out
Lamborghini.
McLarens at the airport.
The punch card at the John.
You have to wait till you get to the hotel to get a Lamborghini. Right. They chopper you to Palm Springs.
Excellent. So that was a bit of a contrast. And I never really think of myself as the modern Lamborghini guy, although. I grew up idolizing the Countach, as you obviously
I can relate
with that. And it was so much fun. Even just driving around the city here and doing a couple of canyon runs.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and the sound it makes you drive like an asshole.
It's really funny. Does. No one's a modern Lamborghini guy until they're in the fucking driver's seat.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden. These things are cool. They're good. Yeah, it's nice. Maybe I'll get one. I don't know. They're cool. Yeah. Everyone's a modern Lamborghini guy when you're driving one. When you're standing on the side of the road going, you fucking shitbag.
You don't like yourself as much, but you're having too good of a time to really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I felt that way. I just drove a Hellcat, and I was like, I shouldn't like this as much as I do. but
Yeah.
I do.
They give those out in Michigan.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're a lot of here too, but
I did a fucking thing for my Haggerty show in Michigan, and we had a Hellcat Durango. It's just like a loaner. Like we didn't have to
That's a grocery
We didn't
getter.
film it or anything. It was just like, here you go. It's just a loaner. It was so weird.
yeah, that car is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. But I like the Hellcat Durango better than the Hellcat Jeep.
Yeah,
I think the longer wheelbase helps.
does it some favors.
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the interior of that thing, like they've done a remarkably good job of holding on to the core charms of those vehicles and keeping them relevant. Like those, I call Stellantis now, but I called FCA and Chrysler before it the rope-a-dope automaker because they were always doing their best work when they had like no money and they were up against the ropes.
Yeah, well, when they came out with the Chrysler 300 and
Yeah.
the Charger, it was like, what do we have? Well, we've got the rear subframe from a Mercedes from like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got that. And what do we have? Well, cars with chopped roofs would be cool. Okay, well, we can work with that.
You build 3 different cars on that platform, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and do it for 20 years.
Right.
What else would be cool? Oh, the word Hemi is pretty cool.
I mean, they
That's
sell like
working
hotcakes,
over
man.
at the Ram side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I drove the 392 Wrangler. Speaking of
Oh, did
V8
you?
powered Stellantis.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous in the way that like the old G class was, like a G63.
Yeah. Brat.
Yeah, exactly. Hilarious and doesn't feel entirely stable and needs more brakes, but hilarious. And I really like the Wrangler a lot.
We drove a non-factory one. We drove an AEV.
Oh yeah, those guys do
Jeep.
good work. What was
Yeah,
that, like
I mean,
150 grand or something?
What was that white one, Zach? Maybe 120?
Which one?
The AEV Jeep, the white one that had the was it a 5.7 or a 6.4? I think it was a 6.4.
think so.
6.4 Hemi, 8-speed auto. I mean, it was factory level, install.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably similar to what Jeep is actually selling now.
Yeah, and
It was
apparently
silly.
those are going for like 20K over list now.
Of course they
In the same way that the T-Rexes are.
don't buy a car right now.
No,
It's terrible.
It's
It's
terrible.
the worst
idea.
time ever to buy a car.
Yeah,
Just don't buy anything.
just
If
sit
you
on
can
it because
afford-
your used cars are going up. Right now.
I read an article this morning, I think it was on The Drive, that was like, is that ridiculous sounding Carvana offer real? And the answer was like, yes, the inventory is that low. You should take the ridiculous sounding Carvana offer.
Well, yeah, and if you're leasing a vehicle and you got a buyout and you want to get out early, you might actually find yourself coming out ahead. Mm-hmm. One of our guys has a Honda Civic, and he was thinking about getting out of it because he doesn't drive it very often.
Yeah.
And I think he found out that he could come out like a couple $1,000 ahead.
Wow.
Just by buying out the lease and then selling it openly, or the
Ju-
dealer
just-
the dealer will buy
the
them
dealer
out?
will buy it back. Wow. Because they're that short of cars.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Wow.
nuts. And it's only gonna get worse
then
for
the
a while.
question is, well, now you need a car.
Right.
If you need a car, that's
Well, he bought
probably-
an S2000, so he did well.
Oh yeah, except unless he bought it on Bring a Trailer at Retail Plus.
Yeah, no, he did not do that. He found a private party and had it shipped.
Yeah, they're out there.
I mean, this is the real life version of like if you sell a stock what you think is the top, and then a month later it's higher. You're like, but now you have to walk to work.
Yeah.
because your Civic just went
Now
up
you're calling the
$2,000.
Uber.
Like, shit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your
You're spending
theoretical
$2,000
money
Urban. Yeah.
now is a theoretical car.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wonder. I wonder what ways people are going to take advantage of this market. I mean, who's going to unload their collection at an enormous profit? Like right now, I was like last night. I was like, should I downsize? Is it the time? But like, no.
Well, see, that's partially my problem, but for different reasons. Because one of the reasons why we came out to California is to look around and see if we might be interested in staying here. And I've got a lot
What's
of.
the conclusion now that you've been here for a while?
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. It's great.
People shit on California all the time, but
Yeah.
it turns out it's actually quite nice here.
There's a reason why people spend the money to be here.
Yeah. Traffic sucks, but the seesaw is still in the positive column.
Yeah, but I've also been fortunate enough to amass the standard Midwest spread of more square footage and more stuff. You just grow into the space and more cars, and so I got a bunch of odds and ends that I won't ever find space for here. I can't afford it. So.
Alana Shear finds
right.
a way.
Yeah, but she's out in the sticks a little bit.
Yes, she is. Yeah, you have to be outside of town to get some space, which
Yeah.
people do.
And it's very nice. We have friends who live up in the Simi Valley, and there is space up there. People have like regular size homes with yards and stuff, and you can park things on your street and whatever, and it's like less of a thing than right down here by the beach. But my business depends on that density.
Yeah, and I think we'd be game for that sort of a solution a few years down the road. But if you're making the big shift, I've lived in the Midwest all my life. I'm from Cleveland, and then went to school in Michigan, and now I'm back in Michigan for work. And I want something different, and I want to experience the city. Like there's so much here.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to move here, I'm not buying anything. Can't afford it right now anyway, with what's going on with the housing market here. And in general across the country. So,
and if you're going to come 2,000 miles, you might as well go the last 5 to the beach.
You might as well enjoy it for a year or 3, and get used to being downsized. And
it's such a big city, you don't figure out necessarily where the right place is. Like living in LA doesn't really mean anything.
100%.
It's like what town, because you don't always want to fuck with the traffic. So you definitely want to be where you need to be most of the time.
Yeah.
So whether that means by work or whether that means by the restaurants you want to eat at or the recreational things you want to do with yourself.
100%.
We started down in the South Bay and worked our way up towards here.
Yeah,
South Bay is lovely if you don't need to come into town very often.
Well, I work from home.
That's what I'm saying.
And I have been for years pre-pandemic, so there's something to that.
They'll bring press cars down there. They'll drop them off in Long Beach and stuff for sure.
They do, yeah. It's like they'll do like
Nelson and
a 35 mile radius. We're pretty close here, actually. Yeah. Having a shop to drop cars at is the shit. You don't even have to be with the DocuSigns. You don't have to be there no more. It's great.
I felt like a valet these last few weeks, like I was back in college. Because we've got the driveway here, but there's like an Airbnb unit behind ours, and there are people that come and go. And
and you have all these fucking press cars. Oh, they must think you're such a shit bag.
I had 3 at one time.
Oh my god!
Because I drove out here with the long-term car, and then I had the 2 supercars. And I felt like an idiot. It's just the only way that I could get them scheduled, or the only way Steve could get them scheduled at the same time. And I mean, it was great.
It is what it is.
But we had that, and they were installing.
It's an excess.
They were installing fiber lines on the street, and there was construction, and it was a lot.
They probably looked at you and they're like, "Bitcoin, huh?" They look at me and they're like, "Drugs, huh?" Or is it guns? It's guns or drugs for sure.
Dogecoin.
You definitely scream Doge. They last week Zach was out of town doing a gig. Was it Proving Grounds you were doing?
No, Rated season 2.
Rated for Haggerty, and I didn't schedule my cars properly to match Zach's travel schedule, and I had 2 press cars and a press motorcycle.
Oh, nice.
To myself.
Yeah.
And I had to film all of them by myself, and I had 2 days to do it, and it was a disaster. And having to go out, and the motorcycle had no storage of any kind, so anything I had to bring came in a backpack.
Yeah.
And I literally, I had to do one of the cars. I had to go off-road in the morning, one side of LA County, come home, dump footage, change gear, and then go on motorcycle on the other side. I was so sweaty by the end of the day, I actually think I have to tap out and retire my helmet.
Wow.
I think I permanently ruined my helmet. Like after
you don't
the
have any,
show,
like, cool
I might
dryers
go.
for all your towels.
It was
and stuff
too
like
late, dude. I had my helmet on, off, and when you have no hair to absorb that sweat, it just goes directly from skin to helmet. It was like, you ever try to put on a wetsuit that's wet?
Yeah, it doesn't actually move. Yeah.
It was. I seriously think I have to. I put the helmet on today to go to the doctor's appointment, and
it smelled like a hockey bag.
I smelled it on my head like 3 or 4 minutes after the helmet had been removed. I think the helmet's donezo.
That's
I think the helmet's got to go on the shelf in the lounge, and that's it. Time for a new helmet.
Maybe put it outside instead of in the lounge. It might smell,
Well, I could close the visor.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'll saran wrap. I'll keep it in there.
Okay. Let's Simonize it first, or whatever it is.
How long have you had the helmet?
Not that long. Maybe a year or two. 2 years probably.
That's a shame.
It could be time. People like us should update our helmets regularly.
Absolutely. And you can't even put that thing on the shelf and enjoy it because it's going to funk up the room.
I'll tape off the bottom.
Yeah.
I keep my old school helmets are on a shelf in there. Do you ride?
I am just getting into it. I meant to before the pandemic, and I actually I bought a Honda Super Cub. So
That would have been a great pandemic lesson. Empty streets.
Yeah.
Teach yourself to ride. There's no cars on the road.
Yeah, and I mean I already knew how to ride a little bit, but I didn't have a license.
Super Cub, new
Yeah,
or old?
New. So it's a 2019.
So it's the Grom that looks old, or is it?
No, it's not a. I mean, it is the underbone Super Cub C125.
Can we get a photo of that, Zach? Super Cub. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Like really the old school,
So
like the
mine's
original.
like the blue and white there with the red seat.
Oh yeah,
like the
it's
fourth
literally
picture
like
over.
you meet
Yeah.
the nicest people on a Honda.
100%.
Yeah.
It is the single.
It's kind of dope.
It is the single most common motorized vehicle ever made.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like far
Yeah.
more than any Model T or anything.
Yeah,
That's
bro. Like
discounting all
welcome
the
to
Chinese
fucking
knockoffs.
Cambodia, where,
Right.
where there's like 3 of these per household.
That's
Yeah.
true. Is it classified as a motorcycle or a
It
scooter?
is because it's a
or-
125. So I mean, it depends on the state, but
there
125
gears?
is pretty universally. Yeah, you do shift gears, but it's clutchless. I mean,
Is it a
it's semi-automatic.
2-stroke?
No,
Okay,
it's not.
4-stroke.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it's clutchless.
Yeah.
So foot
Sorry.
shifter.
Yes. So there's a centrifugal clutch. You actually you kick up to
Uh-huh.
go into first, and then after that it's down, down, down. But you don't have to.
Wait, you mean the other way? It's up to
It's
go
up,
into first,
yeah.
and then down, down,
Yeah,
down.
it's weird.
It's opposite.
It's inverse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
So I'm probably learning on the
You're
wrong.
fucking up.
Right. I was gonna say. So as soon as I get into
Southern
something, it's gonna be
Hemisphere.
like,
It's Southern
I don't want to.
Hemisphere.
I don't.
like
I
learning
don't
on
want
a
to tell
dog-leg
people I
manual.
like that they're fucking up, but I think you're fucking up.
yeah, maybe,
You're training yourself backwards.
maybe.
You are.
But here's the thing, you know. I mentioned to you earlier. I love Japan. I love going to Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and this makes me feel like I'm in Japan, just riding on this dinky little thing. Plus, I wanted something that was that I could slide by. My better half is getting into motorcycles.
100%.
Right. So
Dude,
that's
that
cool.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
Imagine you're teaching your 15-year-old kid to drive. He's never been in a car before. She's never been in a car before. They've never been in a car before. And you go, you're going to drive for the first time on this Skyline.
Right.
And this is what driving is. You're going to drive on this. Here's what it's a dog box. And so basically you have to double clutch up and down.
Or it's a dogleg gearbox, the first one, and the next time they drive, they accidentally go in reverse. And
Yeah.
then back
Right. That's
up
what I'm
and
saying.
down.
Like that would be the worst way to learn.
Yeah.
And apparently, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
You kind of are.
I also just bought a Honda Bentley, which is a 1965 CA95.
How does,
CA95 Bentley, Benly.
Not Bentley.
No.
that's why I was
Not
like,
the
that's why I
same
paused.
thing. But it is actually kind of the Bentley of Honda motorcycles. Compared to the Super Cub, this thing basically is a Bentley.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like in terms of, it's a Bentley in terms of like the Bentley boys from the 20s who
Right,
used
right,
to
right.
race their supercharged like tractors.
So,
it's cool as fuck. It looks like old school BMW almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with the polished tank.
Right.
And so it's getting cleaned up a little bit, but it's a nice low mileage model. It had 11,000 miles on the clock. It's
Does that
all
shift
stuff.
up, down, 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 down as well?
No. it does
Okay.
not. So I haven't spent much time on it yet because I literally got it, put it in a truck, and brought it over to Cafe
think-
Racer.
Is it a
Wait,
small
Zach, the
motorcycle
picture- yeah,
or is
go
that
back
a
to the
giant
picture.
person?
It's small.
It's small?
Yeah, it's small.
Okay.
This picture.
It's a 150.
Yeah.
So there's the thing. Like these are small displacement bikes. These are
That bike is definitely
column
meant for a
shoes.
JDM.
sized individual.
Well,
Yeah.
because by itself, it looks like you said, vintage BMW, Vincent Black Knight
Yeah.
era kind of
Yes.
stuff. It's just a couple decades later, but it looks really cool.
It does.
By the way, that thing has
So-
electric start from 1965.
Oh, that's
And it
cool.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's a beautiful little bike.
Yeah, they're very cool. They're starting to go up, so I figured
mean,
it's not
Yeah.
a big deal.
I like that you're riding on these little bikes. That's cool. I
Well,
just think
I-
that backward shifter may bite you in the ass.
Yeah, it might. But I never do things normally, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I like the weird stuff.
Add a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely, if you live in LA, those vehicles are going to serve you very, very well.
Yeah.
A small motorcycle is the shit here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the Vespa, and I figured that something like the Super Cub, you'd be clean.
Yeah. And I've very strongly considered getting the new Monkey as well.
Well, that is a small bike.
It is.
Yeah.
But my new house is pretty close to the shop, and so on occasional commute days, it's close enough that there's no reason I couldn't ride a silly, stupid little thing like
Yeah,
that.
I've never ridden a bike that small, so I don't even.
Dude,
know
a
if it's-
homie brought one to a shoot. One of the guys who had a car I was filming brought one to the racetrack, to Chuck Walla, and he brought a Grom. and it was modded
out there.
So was it like
no,
extended
no,
frame
it was, he
Grom
brought the
and-
Grom in the trailer.
Okay.
And it had handlebars that were bigger and taller than normal Grom handlebars. Okay. It had a slightly different shaped seat, and it had a couple other little, like an exhaust on it, right? And I took that motherfucker out on the track.
Cool.
And I had some real fun running laps on this thing, and I was like, how much is this little motherfucker right here? And then I went to the showroom, and they had the Monkey, which is a Grom, but it looks like a vintage Monkey. Have you not seen this, Zach?
Mm-mm.
It's Grom mechanics, but it looks like...
Well, the Monkey was an old series too, right?
Yeah, they had an old school. Is that the same guy? Look at the 2019 Monkey. Is that the same guy? Oh, it's a girl. She was dressed the same as the dude.
But that is a small
But that's
bike,
it.
right?
It's a Grom that looks like a vintage Monkey.
So do you feel
cool.
inherently unstable on that thing because it's so small?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Twitchy?
A little bit. Yeah, it's twitchy, but it's not like fast. You pretty much keep it under 55 with
When
this
those
thing.
came out, remember there was a waiting list for like a year.
Hell yeah.
Everyone just loved them so much. And I remember they were like, weren't they like $7,000 new? They were pretty expensive for the size they were. But people just, it's like they love them. It's like
These
a
are,
Miata.
I think these are like 4,500 or something.
I want to
new.
say they were like maybe $4,000 now,
Yeah,
something like that.
but it's a 125 and it's got a 5-speed, I think, shifter, and
Scooter Plus.
yeah, it's definitely more fun than a scooter in short
yeah.
in short term.
For sure.
Yeah.
Smaller wheels. Yeah, it'd be fun.
People mod the hell out of those things.
Yeah, and there's like 12 o'clock boys riding them shits around Venice right now, and people commute on them too in L.A. I
have
see
the
a
big
bunch
swing
of
arms and
people
lengthen the frame and all
with
that.
fucking backpacks and work clothes riding these things around. Yeah, I maybe we should buy one.
Yeah, get a Monkey or go test ride one. At
We
least.
should ride. I should ride your Bagheera, Zach. Is what I should do.
That's
I
true.
don't-
Your
I
free
shouldn't buy
Bagheera.
that. I should just ride the free Bagheera.
Yeah.
Did you happen to notice that thing downstairs?
No, I didn't.
Zach has this East German motorcycle that he got from Mike Musto.
Okay.
In case the world ends.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called an MZ Bagheera.
Oh.
And
The
that's
Yamaha
it.
engine. It's like a KLR made from donated body parts. It's a Yamaha engine.
But it actually has the Yamaha engine.
It's got the
So it
Yamaha
should be
engine, which is
reliable.
which matters. Yeah, and then the rest
Yeah.
of the parts I don't really
That's
care.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
But he doesn't want to ride it because he doesn't
Right.
ride motorcycles. But if the shit hits the fan in
then I
LA,
ride
it's the
motorcycles.
traffic that's going to kill us. So you need two wheels. Everyone should have a two-wheeled vehicle because if the shit hits the fan, that's the escape
That's
plan
the
in
only
this
way out.
in this
Yeah.
city. So he's got that, but I keep it healthy.
Free motorcycle. It's insured, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I should probably ride it, but I got that Harley right now. I got a Hog.
You do?
Yeah, I have a Hog right now.
No way.
I had this Harley Pan America last
Okay.
week,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
adventure bike.
Yeah, yeah. That's their
So
first adventure.
cool.
Is it?
Have you seen one?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
No, I
know-
haven't seen it in person yet.
The suspension kneels. So
Oh.
when you come up to a light,
Like
it
a Land Rover,
kneels
but
2
intentionally.
inches. Yes. And then it rises up. It's awesome. And then I was supposed to get the live wire, the electric one.
Yeah.
But I'd never really ridden a old school Harley. So I was like, all right, I need to try that first before I just do
Yeah,
this
and that's
new-
not even an old school Harley, but that looks super cool.
It's totally unlike any other Harley Davidson.
Wait, what
It
do you have
doesn't-
right now? With Livewire?
I have a Fat Bob right
That's
now.
right.
Which I asked to get an old school Harley in between the Pan America and the Livewire. So that's what they sent over, the Fat Bob in black, the 114 engine. So it's like in between the Sportster and the giant like Road King shit. $18,000, 114 cubic inches. And because my parents were here last week, I haven't ridden it a foot.
You park it somewhere else so they didn't see it.
No, but I was like, when they pulled in the garage, I'm like, it's not mine, not mine.
Press bike, press bike,
Press bike.
It's cool
Like
looking.
you talked about your significant other.
Yeah.
Had a mental disconnect between these small Japanese things and like motorcycles.
Yeah.
My parents, same thing. Mint green Vespa,
Harmless.
no problem.
Yeah.
Big black Harley, problem.
Major troubles. Yeah, for sure.
But I'm excited to put a few miles on it. I'm going to start riding it tomorrow.
How long do you have it for? I understand the motorcycle loans. They just like forget about them here.
That's the word. Apparently, if you're a somebody,
I don't even know-
Davy Johnson, rest in peace, used to be motorcycles were forgotten about at Davies for months.
Yeah.
And some of those old school motorcycle guys, I mean, just fleets of press bikes.
I don't even think you have to be a somebody. I think they just forget about certain brands and.
For me, motorcycle loans last 3 weeks.
Okay,
Which
that's pretty
is
good.
good. Which
Yeah.
is good because I think you can use a motorcycle a third as much as you can use a press car.
Yeah.
So I think that's the right amount of time. And occasionally they've been longer, but that's usually enough to get the job done. I'm not good enough. I'm an okay rider, but I'm not good enough that I can get on the bike and do a review. I need to ride 100 miles at least before I can start saying anything of substance about that thing.
Yeah, well, and you're leagues ahead of me. I'm just learning. So
Yeah, have you tried riding and talking yet?
no, I have not tried to do that at all.
Welcome to a new world of fun.
It's hard enough trying to do. I mean, you're an expert at it, and you guys are good at it. But I have a hard enough time doing that while I'm driving for a car review.
It's a tough skill.
Yeah.
It's a tough skill. It's part natural gift that I can do it. I don't necessarily know why I can do it as well as I can. But
I've definitely been getting better at it, but it is a new thing,
tough.
and I got into this business to write.
when I started doing it with motorcycles, I was terrified that I would not be able to. And I think I can actually ride motorcycles and talk.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Not as quite as well as cars, but I can.
Yeah, you can tell you're definitely you're paying attention more to the riding.
Yeah. You have to be able to completely automate your hands and feet at a pretty high level and disconnect, like my dad can do with math. Thank you all, by the way, for saying such nice things about my father. We had my dad on the show.
I listened to it. It was amazing.
Oh, you did enjoy it?
Yeah, I did.
And people, I've never gotten as many nice emails in my entire life as people writing about my dad.
Yeah, Zach and I were talking before the podcast, and I was saying that it's a really thoughtful process to think like, it's very obvious when you think about it, but you want to get here with this interview, and you got to work backwards to get the questions. And I'm like, just most people don't think about it that way, let alone the math thing.
The math thing is crazy, but I've lived with that type of sage advice for fucking so long that it's not like it's not special. It's special, but to drop it on people cold in a curated fashion, people are like, holy shit, who's this guy? He's a G. I love my dad, and it's amazing. People were so like, I've never gotten emails about anything I've ever done in my life like I did about talking to my dad on a microphone for
and you guys said on
minutes.
air that you guys were you had to shut down the question chat after 15 minutes. So
he normally charges a lot for this advice.
Right.
Kind of advice.
Everybody's just trying to get free investment advice or career advice.
Yeah, and he didn't want to throw anybody under any buses either. He didn't want to dish any dirt on individuals.
No, you guys were digging a little bit here and there for the worst scenarios.
I
and all
opened the door for him to tell 3 good stories that I already knew about individuals, and he did not take the bait, and he knew what I was doing.
Yeah, he's like, I know that's a fishing lure. That's not a fish. I'm not eating that thing.
Yeah, but man, it was interesting, and I think we should try and do it again, because
you could do a whole series with him.
There's more. Yeah. I've seen him speak at universities and stuff, and he will pack an auditorium and fucking blow minds.
Yeah.
He's really, really a very good speaker. Yeah. And when you're, starting a business, it's good to have a guy like that around, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Turns out he's very helpful.
So you still go to him for advice?
Yeah. Like daily. Like literally daily.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was born to classical musicians, so I'm not going to for music.
That's interesting.
For advice. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What type of musicians?
My father's an organist. And
Really?
My mother's a soprano. Yeah.
Oh, how interesting.
My mom's from Japan, and my dad is Czech. So you got to rice Czechs. You got to really good mix.
What did you eat at home?
Everything you get in Cleveland. So we had the goulash and the heavy stuff, and then my mom, all my entire family, other than me, they're all very good cooks.
How cool.
Yeah.
I bet you ate well at home. That's awesome.
I did, but I didn't appreciate it as much. When you're young, you don't.
Yeah. I didn't appreciate that my family made hummus before they sold it in like grocery stores like for 20 years.
Yeah.
And like the string cheese and all that shit. Oh, the best.
Yeah.
So
no,
good.
we had that, and we had we had the espressos and stuff like that back in like the 70s. And
Yeah.
80s. Nobody was drinking that stuff. And
Oh, a bunch of people wanted to know, because the name Farah is, Syrian. My dad's not that brown, and we were. My grandfather is from a city called Ham, which is in Syria.
Oh.
In case something about when you are doing something that's even a little bit like public, and you have a Middle Eastern last name, they fucking embrace that shit. I get so many emails that are like, your name, is that Lebanese? Because Farah's Lebanese, and yes, I know. They moved the line a bit. It's on the Syrian side.
It's like Are You Sure You're Not Greek? When Thad filmed these Greek guys, and they kept like, "You sure you're not Greek? Where your family from?" He's like, "Poland." He's like, "That's not far."
We're going to give this one to you.
Well, my mother's side was from a place called Vilnius, which was in Russia and then Poland, and now I think it's in Lithuania.
They're just loaning it out.
They just fucking
It's like Toledo.
It's a soccer stadium.
You take it. You take it. No.
Nobody wants it. Yeah. Oh. Zach, have the people to say? Oh, we have back. We have back.
I got
people.
a back catalog.
Oh, Chris, you're
people
great.
haven't.
This is perfect because on some other shows we've had a build up of questions and car advice.
So I'm the clearinghouse.
Yes.
The dumping ground.
Yes.
Excellent.
Normally we're just the self-dumping grounds, but we have a third expert.
Maybe we can dump together.
We can all dump together, and this is perfect. We've been waiting to have another automotive journalist to filter some of these out. Right. Richard says, for $100,000, would you rather have one car or two? They're tempted by the Taycan Cross Turismo, but wondering if money is better spent on a daily driver plus a dedicated sports car.
If you've got the space, and I love the Taycan. I haven't driven the Cross Turismo yet.
It's very good. It's what you'd expect.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful one-car solution for everything. And all credit to you if you pick one up. But I would probably go with the dedicated sports car in the daily because I like the focus, and I also like the variety.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like the focus and I like the variety. I like to have a car for each different type of task if space and funds permit.
Right.
But if I lived somewhere where I didn't have to sit in traffic and where the pavement was very good, I might justify buying a fucking GT3 as a one-car solution. It's because my existence in this city is either grid, light to light, shitty traffic, or up on a mountain, whoa, and really nothing in between.
Right.
If I lived in Kentucky and most of my drives were meandering through farmland, I might have a different one-car solution than I've got a two-car solution.
Yeah,
right,
no,
Zach?
that's totally fair.
Yeah, I don't think the Taycan would be a great one-car solution because it has the compromise of the charging network, and it's like not a sports car. So this person's thinking about getting, like, you're clearly interested in driving fast stuff, and I mean the Taycan's fun, but I would rather have two things.
It's fast, but it's it's being electric. It's not as fizzy.
Right.
It's not as visceral.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It just does the thing. It does the numbers, and it's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't have that noise. It doesn't have the tactile feedback in the same way. So
on the other hand, don't buy a special sports car and then a crappy daily driver and then be afraid of driving the special sports car.
Right. And
now you've spent all this money on a sports car, but you 6 days a week are driving a shit box.
Right.
Like that is dumb.
Yeah, and if you're dealing with like a $10,000 or $20,000 budget where you're trying to do both of these things, that's for used vehicles, that's one thing. $100K, you can go a lot.
You
of
can
different
get nice
directions.
cars.
You can have really great individual representations of those two things.
And people aren't going to like this, but if either your daily or your weekend car was going to be nice, have it be your daily. Mm-hmm. Just do that math.
Absolutely.
A weekend sports car beater can be fun, especially if it breaks and your Lexus can still get you to work.
Yeah.
Wyatt says, I know how you guys feel about factory turbo cars, but I haven't heard you speak too much on superchargers and thoughts on something like torque amp electric supercharger. Is that an aftermarket electric supercharger maybe?
I assume so. I don't know.
Yeah. In my opinion, the problem with superchargers is that they almost always find a way to rob the engine of potential power and response. Like whenever they take a big power supercharged car and remove the supercharger and put on twin turbos, it always makes like 40% more power like right away.
and I'll agree with you if you're going for max power and you're doing that. But I actually like the daily driver aspect of the supercharger, and I like the whine.
Me too.
Whine is okay. I like whine too.
I like the power
the-
band. I like the way it feels.
Yeah,
I like the torque instant.
There's no whine, but we have an A7 is our family's daily, and it's really comfortable. It's the old supercharged motor, and I love that thing. But I also understand that it's if you're talking big power and you're going to modify it, turbos absolutely.
Yeah. I've only had like some supercharged engines, especially manual transmissions. When I've tried to blip downshifts, there's a little delay. You know, I don't know if I can blame the supercharger for that or if it's a coincidence or something, but I felt like, I don't know. As things have evolved, I've just enjoyed them a little less than I used to. But
I think it also depends on, like, supercharged V8s I really like.
yeah.
The supercharged engine in the Evora is like fun when you're using it in the right way. But like you said, the downshifts are kind of iffy. It's a fun way to get power. You know, instead
Same
of
thing with the supercharger on the Mini Cooper I had back in the day. It was great when you were mobbing, but the air conditioner took 32 horsepower out of the engine because it was just another thing that was dragging on the blower, and it was so dependent on it. It was a little engine with a supercharger.
Yeah,
so.
you got to find that sweet spot.
Right. Porsche guy says, what's your least favorite thing about the 991.2 GT3? Have you driven a 991.2 GT3?
I have not, but my answer would be my budget can't afford one.
Yeah. My least favorite thing about them, there's not a lot I don't like about that car. I mean, I don't like that I can't afford one, pretty much. That's all I got about it. Dingbat221, Mustang GT or Giulia TI? Never driven a Giulia TI. What is more fun to drive? I imagine the GT's engine is better and the Giulia's suspension is more planted. Have you driven a Giulia TI?
I have.
Is it nice?
It is a nice. Actually, they're still really frisky and a lot of fun. I've spent more time in the Quattro Formaggio, as they always say. But I like both of those cars a great deal, and I think a lot of it depends on what kind of driving you do. Where do you live? I live in Michigan, so the Mustang GT, not just because it's like the stereotypical thing to have, but because the roads suck, and they're
You're right. It's better on bad roads.
They're straight and flat. That's nice, and they're a lot of fun, and I love the noise. And the TI is more of a finesse thing. Do you need the back seat? Do you not need the back seat?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking in real world advice, it's pretty binary.
Yeah.
Do you or do you not need back seat?
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think
the TIs also actually interestingly seem to have been relatively reliable, at least compared to the QVs, which have seemingly been a nightmare from everybody I've talked to that's either owned one or had one as a press vehicle.
Shannon Killingsworth, why should I buy an Elise? You should buy an Elise because they are bottomed out at $28,000 and they'll be $28,000 forever. The only thing that affects their value is the clamshell cracked.
Don't crack.
Don't crack the clamshell.
Yeah.
Even if you had to replace the entire engine, it would be $3,500. I mean, it's like, it's not like it's like nothing, and they're light and they're simple, and they actually work, and they're unique in the space. That's why. Ian Campbell says, thoughts on an electric sports car with manual transmission using fake Jetsons noise for the sound?
I think we'll get there. I think it'll probably happen through the aftermarket, and it'll probably be fun, even if it's not, actually any quicker or more efficient.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be simulated. I don't know. I would like to experience that. I never have.
I'm not entirely sure that an EV with a manual transmission is something I need in my life. I'm not sure if I don't seek out EVs for the same reason I seek out manual transmissions, though it's something that people ask me about all the time.
Well, and again, we're fortunate enough to be driving a lot of different cars and have a few different cars so that you have that option. But as a universal solution, especially if you could just set it in full automatic mode or you could play around if you wanted to, would be pretty cool.
Well, I mean, what's good about an EV that would be manual is that you have the shifting, so you get to play with your right hand, but you can't stall it, and you don't need a clutch.
You could simulate that.
I mean,
it'd be a lot of trouble.
Imagine simulating stalling.
Yeah.
And rev matching.
You don't need a rev match.
No. Yeah. There are some.
A flywheel and clutch. If the engine was in the front with flywheel, etc., then wouldn't you have to rev match? Which would be very hard.
Ooh. No. Those motors have like none of their own like inertia in the way like a gas engine does.
There are companies that are doing some of these classic cars, and like Land Rovers and stuff like that, that are doing electric conversions. And I've seen that some of them have done that. I've never experienced it, so I don't know what it's like.
Someone built a C7 Corvette that's electric with a manual transmission, and it's very, very fast. They're in Florida. It does like 240 miles, 212 or something.
Tech, I can't
There's
remember.
a guy with a old vintage 911 around here that's a stick and electric too, but it's not
weird.
something I seek out. Daniel says, I'm 18 and lucky enough to have saved up for a BMW 135i. I love it, but want to be a better driver. What are some things I can do to improve skill and safety?
Well, first off, congratulations. You picked a great car to learn to drive on, and just a super fun car. I really love the 135. Drive as much as you can. And try and get instruction from actual qualified people. Do track days, do gymkhanas, do autocrosses, and get to know in a safe environment how to drive.
Yeah, I second all of that. And in addition to that, I mean, if you saved enough to buy that BMW, maybe you could save a little more for proper racing school as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really racing schools are very expensive, but you can really learn a lot over the course of a weekend or 4 days, that if you get back in your own car and continue those skills, it can really carry you out. And also you're practicing in someone else's car, which can be both nice and convenient and also fun, because maybe you get to go, oh, I've never driven a Corvette before, and I can go to racing school in a Corvette, or I've never, whatever, what have you.
And you will be a faster driver spending the money that you would have on mods by going to a proper school and learning. Plus, you're at 18, you're probably, if you're like my boy was, he's doing 3 mods at once, and I'm like, how do you know what's actually taking the effect, that you want and not canceling each other out?
Yeah.
Necron 1050. I've heard you guys talk about many BMWs, but what do you think of the E9? I love me a 3.0 CSL.
Yeah,
that's what that's what the E9 is. If you don't know, is the 3.0 CS, and they are very
how
pretty.
How good looking is that?
Never driven one, but one of the most beautiful BMWs of all time. Easy.
I've not driven one.
I was gonna say that's Robert Downey Jr.'s car, and it's got some subtle mods. No, up one from that.
That one.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Speedcore did it. They done some cars for him. Yeah. It's very cool. And I love the shape. It's fabulous. There's one on my street. It's really, really nice.
They have long since become unaffordable for decent ones.
Have I had much chance to drive a modern performance Renault? I drove the Renault Sport Megane RS 260 RS at the Nürburgring with RSR Nürburgring.
Is that the one with the half cage in the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a street car, modified street car, and it was not that impressive.
Oh,
it was basically like, I don't know, kind of like a Focus ST. Like, it was fine. It was all right, but I wasn't like, yeehaw.
Some of them get crazy expensive now.
Yeah, I wasn't that blown
60
away
or 70
by
grand.
It. Yeah.
It's nuts.
Have any of you ever driven Flannel Bob says, have any of you ever driven an E36 M3 with the Euro motor?
No.
I have not. However, I've driven E36 M3 with a full S54 swap, which is, I think, kind of like the Euro motor, but actually a little better.
50 more horsepower, yeah.
Right. And it didn't really knock my socks off.
Really?
I mean, it was nice, but like...
That's what you expected it to be?
Yeah. But it wasn't like anywhere as fun as the E30 with the S54. That was like way more fun.
Yeah, well, that has a much better steering rack. Also. I think it has a big thing to do with it.
Yeah, the E36 was like, Performance Technic did a beautiful job with the swap. It was super clean. It did everything that their customer wanted and advertised for, and yet it didn't knock my socks off. It was all right.
Yeah,
but it was what it was. Sean Smith says, are there any cars you love but can't in good conscience recommend to anyone? It's a fair question.
It's a good question, yeah.
I mean, old muscle cars and classics are tough. Like, they're great, but you need to have a set of tools and a decent knowledge of how to use them, because the shit's just going to break all the time. Like, little things, not big things, but it's going to require a little finesse.
I agree with that, and I would say that it's just about setting expectations. A lot of these old cars, they're just actually not that good to drive. They're not that entertaining. Like maybe you like the look of it or the sound of it, and that's one thing.
Good point.
That's what you got to set yourself up for. So I have a lot of cars that I love. I own a couple of things that are objectively maybe not great cars. There were certainly better things at the time. I had a Saab Viggen, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Viggen was objectively a
Yes.
terrible car within the class, but I loved it all the same.
I had a friend that had one when it was new, and it was the coolest. And then I drove one later, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, my brother has it now, and it's slow, and there's so much cowl shake, it's unbelievable, and it's not fast.
Is it a Viggen convertible?
It was, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kadori Crunch says, will my diesel Mercedes 126 ever be worth anything? No. It's already worth what it will ever be worth.
No
I
argument.
mean, pretty much, right? Yeah. Would you still buy the Miata NC Super 20 today? What is the Super 20?
Hell yes.
Do you have that?
So I do not own one. They made a Super 20.
What is that?
It was a show car. And it was just lowered and fat tired. And
I remember that. Yeah, it was cool looking.
Yeah, and they actually loaned it out. I think it debuted at the Chicago Auto Show, and they loaned it out afterwards. And it's got the cage, and it's really loud.
I like its meaty rubbers.
It was so cool, and it was a great thing that they let us have it like a normal car a press car for like a week.
That's fucking rad.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, it looks great.
Absolutely would have one of those. Absolutely.
I got a day with the flying Miata ND that had the V8 in it, and it was the fucking tits. It was so great. Utsav Sharma, who makes the best entry-level sedan that's not the full performance model, but one rung down. I see. So not RSs or Ms, but like below that. Oh man, I don't like any of those middle range shit. They're so like compromised. They bother me.
I haven't driven them in a while. I like the S4, but I've never driven a C43.
I like the S3.
That car is great.
I haven't driven an S4 in a while.
The S3 is
I like
way
the
more fun to
S3.
drive than the S4.
Yeah, I like
Way
the
more.
S3 a lot.
Way more.
That
We're getting a
was
new one
fun.
soon, I think. It's about time.
I'd rather have a Golf R than most of those middle range luxury sedans.
And in fairness, I'd almost rather have a GTI than a Golf R.
Yeah,
Me.
sure. Argument is there for that. I don't know. Probably I'd go S3. I know it wasn't on your list, but I'd still go S3. Magni says, have we heard about Lucid? From Lucid, if we're driving the Air anytime soon. It looks like they started giving rides. Yeah, no, we haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything?
So they are closer, and they're still offering rides, and they're expanding those. And I think they just opened a second showroom, or they're going to be doing that soon, or another one. I know they have one here in town. They've got to be getting super, super close. We've been spotting them, in spy shots and stuff. So I think it'll happen relatively soon.
I'm not that into rides.
Yeah.
I'll wait till I can drive.
Yeah, I hear you.
Scott wants to know, should he add the Cobb Stage 1, 2, or 3 for best bang for your buck to the Fiesta ST? I don't know what they cost. I can't do bang for buck because I didn't pay.
Because you have no buck, yeah.
I didn't pay. I got them for free. I can say that the Fiesta ST with Cobb Stage 3 was the shit.
I think 3 was tuned downpipe with intercooler, right? Larger intercooler. I think Stage 1, at least in my STI, which was a Cobb product, but in general is oftentimes not nearly as good a payoff as Stage 2 because it's just a tune. And if the exhaust is the restrictive thing on there, sometimes you don't gain as much power. Although with like the new Volkswagen engines, you can gain a shit ton. So I think look at what your power gains are. But Stage 2 with a freer flowing exhaust plus a tune, that's usually all you need. That's usually all you need.
Pierce Gallo just got an 09 Civic Si with 135,000 miles. What tasteful mods should I do for Seattle area mountain driving? You could do coilovers, lightweight wheels and tires, sway bars, suspension. Really,
I would definitely do tires, and I would do bushings. With 135,000 miles, things are probably a little more.
That's a good point.
he says
compliant and flexible.
already doing
Right,
it
yeah.
once. Yeah.
And you, unless you've driven a minty low mile example, you don't know actually what that car is supposed to drive if it's got 135K, and those cars are driven hard.
I agree.
Yeah, if your bushings are going bad, might as well upgrade them a little bit.
Yeah.
You can call me Joy, says Zach just drove one, but let's talk about the old NSX. It seems forgotten and rarely recommended, yet universally praised. Why? Price? Is it just... All right.
I mean, I think it seems like they're recommended constantly. And
I
the
don't-
prices are going
all the
up
time.
constantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think at the time when they were new, people were like, "This is the reliable Ferrari. This does a lot of the same things, but it's not. They always not as visceral, not as interesting."
Right.
Da, da, da. And then there was a long period of dormancy where people didn't think about that car, and it was 35 grand or whatever it was. And in the last 5+ years, the values have gone crazy, and people are really interested. Everybody I know seems to want an NSX.
Yeah, totally.
But here's the thing: when they were new, and even for the first 10 or 15 years, you could service them at an accurate dealer. You know, it was very reliable. Now the newest one is 20 years old, 18 years old, and you need specialist shops to service them.
Yeah.
They have certain parts that are very tough to come by and can be very expensive. They have old car maintenance that is, in some cases, you know, yeah, it's got an Accord motor in it, but like outside the fucking motor, there's a lot of parts that are unique to NSX. And I have a couple clients here with NSXs, and I know what they are costing to maintain. And yeah, it's cheaper than a Ferrari, but in some cases, it's not necessarily cheaper than a 911. Like maintaining an NSX to a factory level is roughly the same cost as maintaining a 911.
That's interesting.
And so, as it turns out, you know, when you remove that, oh, well, it's super cheap to run these things, the NSX gets a little bit less appealing. They're not that fast. They sound okay, but not that great. You know, they're lovely, but they're not like mind-blowing on like a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So, you know, a 911 is a little more exciting every day. A Ferrari is certainly more exciting every day.
Yeah.
And those three are kind of similar to run now.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, I think that was appealing about the NSX when it first came out is because it was reliable, because it was a Honda, because it always started, and because you could live with it and you could trundle around in traffic and it wasn't going to overheat or spit some parts that you needed to wait 2 months for. It was a different type of solution, something you could daily, in the same way that like you can do an R8 now,
Right.
You know, or Huracan. Those are things that I think you wouldn't do now because the parts are hard to come by, because it's 20 years old,
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Now that they're collectible,
Yeah.
you know, you might think twice about doing something that you would do if it was just a car.
Yeah.
And if the one you're looking at is like 80 grand,
Yeah.
then you could also get an R8 4.2, the manual for 80 grand.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
I'm
10-year
getting the R8,
right?
which I
Exactly.
love that car.
Yeah. So that's why. Mr. Liam F., 1998. Reasons to buy a C4 Corvette for a weekend car. They drive better than they look. They drive okay. The steering is really sharp on a C4 Corvette. You know, the later ones, the ones with the LT1, are fast.
Yeah.
They got a decent sized trunk.
Good autocross car, and you can
Yeah.
throw the 2 golf bags in the back if you're that Corvette owner.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the reason to buy one is how they drive. The reason not to buy one is almost
Everything else that surrounds you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interiors are really not great.
Right. Dusty Summit says, what does the fleet manager say when you return a press car damaged from off-road? What do they say to me? Please fill out this form that indicates how this car got damaged. And then that's followed up by, have a nice day.
Yeah. Now, if that off-road vehicle is a Tacoma, if it's a Wrangler or something like that, they sort of expect you to take it off-road. Now, if it's a Continental GT, you might have a different conversation.
Yes. We don't have, if you have a habit of damaging vehicles, they might be a little more stern with you, but typically it sort of costs of doing business.
Yeah.
If you've got an off-road truck, it's going to get dinged up a little bit. That Land Cruiser, unfortunately, for all the hemming and hawing that people do about how you could drive a fucking Subaru Outback up that trail, I damaged the Land Cruiser on that trail. Not badly.
Where? On the bottom?
Rauer.
No.
Oh, where? Oh, I dented the underside of the muffler, which was at the back, and I ripped. There's a little bracket that holds on the plug for the tow. Like you'd plug your electronics for a tow. It broke that bracket off. So yeah,
Your departure angle was a little more severe.
it was a
than-
little more severe than the Land Cruiser could handle. Yeah. Let's see. Jason says, I want to go smash 3-foot whoops in Barstow. Would money be better spent building a Tacoma with bypasses or building a Raptor? Raptor.
Yeah, 100%.
You always want to start with the most capable factory vehicle you can afford.
Yeah, because it'll be better engineered than anything you can build.
And also, a Tacoma while it has many virtues, if you put 35-inch tires on a Tacoma, it will not be able to hold 70 miles an hour up a hill anymore.
Yeah,
Speed is not a virtue of that
It
vehicle.
straight up
supercharge it.
won't. Yeah, and now and a Raptor already has horsepower, so you can do some other things, do some other mods, and you've just got horsepower to work with. Last one. Michael Fernandez says Toyota is discontinuing the Land Cruiser in America, but keeping the Lexus LX 570, which is the same vehicle.
I think
so.
we were
Will we
talking
still have a
about-
great vehicle
yeah.
for next generation? Oh, well, yeah, we'll have the Lexus, and they announced there is a new Land Cruiser, but it's not in America.
Yeah, they showed it off. It's got a twin turbo 6. It looks a little funky.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys that I was talking to about that were saying, well, they don't sell enough of them. And I'm like, how is that any different than the last 15 years? Yeah. Because they haven't sold very many to begin with.
They finally had it.
It's an image thing, and yeah.
Well, they haven't had to totally, do it, redo it for 10 years, you know. But I'm going to miss the Land Cruiser, but having driven it for a couple weeks ago, it didn't stick.
No,
with me.
I like the history. I like the durability.
Yeah.
and that, but
I didn't like driving
they're
it that
not
much,
good to
though.
drive
No,
right now,
the
especially on the
Defender was
street.
much nicer to drive.
The Defender's really sweet.
Yeah. What do you want to promote? CNET Roadshow, obviously.
Absolutely.
And on Twitter,
Yeah,
Chris is a great follow on Twitter. I do
Thank you.
follow him on Twitter at CP Autoscribe on Twitter. You should get down with that. And anything else?
No, all good. It was great to be here. Thanks
for coming
Thank you
through,
both.
man.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
thank you for
Chris.
this delightful pinhook booze.
Yeah.
That's going to be on the bar at WCCS. That's our show. We will see you guys next week. Zach, what's on the schedule? Do we even know next week?
I gotta look.
I don't even know.
My brain
Sorry.
didn't work
I put
today.
him on the spot. Today. Thanks, Chris. That was great.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in LA. We'll talk restaurants later. And we appreciate all of you out there. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.